Okay. Good morning. Good morning, ma. Can you hear me?
Yes, miss.
Okay. So, is it always a situation same like that we have to wait for others to join? They know that actually Thursday 2 to 4 we have class. Okay. Let's begin. So, okay. So today last class we have seen patellar dislocation, right? Patellar fractures and dislocation. So after completing these things, right, this one, lower limb fractures, we will have some practical discussions on exercises, various exercises, active exercise, passive exercise, when to start, everything. Okay. So once again. I think we have only few slides to end. Okay, our lower limb fractures and dislocations are going to be completed, and then we will start discuss about various rehabilitation techniques for each and every fractures. Okay, so now we have so much time till mid-sem. If you want, we can have rehab exercise practical things, or else if we completed before that, we will start cervical spinal fractures. We will have spinal fractures. So timing each and every fracture, there are this rehabilitation protocol, right? This is general for the, like, how to say that, average groups. Sometimes some exceptions are there, or sometimes very fit or healthy people means we can start yearly also. This is the general protocol we have. Sometimes some children are a little bit faster compared to elderly, and elderly, it takes longer time. So this protocol is generally for general people. Okay. Why I'm saying means we cannot follow it strictly to each and every page. This is just a guidelines. You can have this as a reference, and you can match it with the patient you are seeing. Do you understand what I'm saying? These are the safe periods, and sometimes do's and don'ts are there. You cannot do some movements means you can follow that, and some improvements and some betterment is there means we can discuss with our team, or surgeons, or whoever is responsible for that. You can discuss, and if you feel they are far better or advanced in their range, achieving range of motion, you can discuss and then decide. So sometimes if you feel that I don't want I can't advance, sometimes there is a risk for that, means you can stay safe, that you can follow this protocol is enough. This is enough. Okay, because this is followed by this guidelines are followed by orthopedic council. Okay, so it's safe to follow. We can also follow it without any uh, restrictions. Okay. So the same like fibular fractures also, we can treat it in the same way like the tibial shaft fractures. Okay. The only thing is you have to avoid rotatory motion. The precautions you have for tibial shaft fractures are avoid rotatory movements with the foot planted. And one more thing is what I have to say is there is like combined one, both tibia and fibula fractures would be there, like because of the force they share, but the weight bearing it has. But sometimes the weight bearing is mostly through your tibia, okay, like radius. So here you can reduce it like 15% of the body weight it shares. So ambulation also you can start yearly. Only difference you have with tibial shaft fracture is we can start little bit earlier, and the weight bearing we don't have to like we don't have to extend the weight bearing period for longer, like in this thing. So you have like till 6th week, it is unstable fractures, it's non-weight bearing, right? For this fibula fracture, if it is alone, only the fibula fracture and the tibia is safe, there is no injury or nothing, means you can get little bit yearly also, you can ambulate it. And other than that, you can use knee immobilizers. Just either we need immobilizers or wrapping, elastic wrapping. It is like patellar fracture. The weight bearing is less in that limb, in that bone. Then you can earlier you can, like clavicle fractures. We have like the week two, at the end of the week two itself, we started doing all kinds of exercise, the pendular movements, like that. The weight bearing is less, means you can start ambulating early. So, and one more thing is, and now we are coming to ankle fractures. Okay, so ankle fractures, we have, it's like a very like ligament injuries. Along with the ligament injuries, you can have ankle fractures. 90% of ankle fractures are combined with ligament injuries, because it is it's like more of the movements, the sudden forceful movements cause this type of fractures. So this is interrelated. So you need to, whenever there is a ligament injury, you check for ankle fractures, and whenever we have fractures, you check for ligament injuries. It's more closely related. So what are the fractures we are going to see is the medial and lateral malleoli, the fracture of the medial and lateral malleoli, as well as we can see the distal articular surface of the tibia and fibula. Okay. So the ankle fractures. So we have ankle fractures, the various types we have, like isolated, only the lateral malleolar fracture, only lateral malleolus fracture, or bimalleolar, that is both medial and lateral, or only isolated medial malleolar fracture, that is tibial malleolus fracture, or this is bimalleolar equivalent fracture. One is bimalleolar equivalent fractures, that is the division or the segments are the same, like equally, the both. Sometimes the lateral malleolar division is high compared to medial, or medial division is high, but here this bimalleolar is equally, the portions that is divided is equal on both medial and aspect. And then the trimalleolar, this is nothing but both malleolus as well as the posterior aspect of the tibia also gets fractured. So these are the various types of ankle fractures, and we have various classifications also. Okay, we have Dennis Weber classification. So this is widely followed. In some cases, we need to follow this. So what is that Dennis Weber classification means? Type A, type B, and type C. Okay, so what does that means? It's decided by only the fibulas. Where is this fibulas fracture occurs? Accordingly, you can decide it. Okay, just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Okay, so the type A is below the level of ankle joint. Okay, this is type A fracture, and type B is at the level of ankle joint. The fibular fracture is at the level of ankle joint, and type C is above the ankle joint. So the real classification of this type is that the fibula where exactly the fracture occurs. Okay, so the below the level of ankle joint means you have this syndesmosis, the unity between tibia and fibula is intact. Okay, then it is more stable. Okay, whenever the tibiofibular joint is retained, means you have more stability. Okay, so but one more thing you need to see is you have along with that, sometimes you have medial malleolus fracture also. You get medial malleolus fracture, but usually if this tibiofibular level is intact, this syndesmosis is intact, and deltoid ligament on the medial aspect is intact, means you have stable joint, stable fracture. So, okay, the type A fracture is if tibiofibular and deltoid ligament, these two things are secured, means you will have a stable fracture. And then we have type B. Type B fractures are maybe the syndesmosis, that is the between the tibiofibular syndesmosis may be intact or partially damaged. Okay, that is very important. And then and one more thing is here also the medial malleolus may be fractured. Medial aspect of the fracture, the medial malleolus is fractured, and deltoid also may be torn. Okay, the type B is deltoid ligament and syndesmosis are affected. Okay, so but one important thing is there is no widening. The fracture is there, or the syndesmosis may be affected, but there is no gap. It is secured. It is not displaced. Then we have type B. Okay, because the stability cannot be decided at the by the progression of the treatment, by the progression of the thing, you can decide the stability. And then we have type C. So the type C is above the level of ankle joint, and here the syndesmosis is disrupted, so affected. Okay, so this in between these two things are affected and widening. So the gap is created. This is actually very, very critical, and you have long-term problems like instability, loss of balance, and some other degenerative changes or severe in this kind of widening. Whenever you look into this gap, if there is the gap between the tibia and fibula is there, means then we have to be, the rehabilitation part should be stronger. Otherwise, the recurrence and the problems, the frequency of problems would be very high. Okay, so you need to check in the x-rays also, check for the gap created. Okay, so the syndesmosis is disrupted. Here it is, it loses unstable, really unstable, and you have the deltoid ligament injury and the medial malleolus fracture. Okay, the widening of the distal tibiofibular articulation, everything is there. So the type C is really red sign, and that we need to be take care of. Okay, so this is the classification of like in relation to fibular fracture. So always check for the gap. Okay. sorry, actually here we have storm here in India, and the power cut is there, and so many problems. That's why you may have lots of disturbances here. Please bear it. Okay. Next, we have AVO and OTA classification. So this is also one of the important ankle fracture classification. So here you can see that where exactly the fracture occurs, right? So this is extra-articular. That is, it says spared your articular surface. So this is articular surface, right? So this is actually spared. And then you have a partial articular fracture. So this one and all, it's a partial. So part of the articular surface is getting affected. And then this row is consist of complete articular fracture. Okay. So this is more complex and takes longer time to rehabilitate compared to other types. Okay. So extra articular fractures, A1 is a simple fracture. Okay, these are very simple. You can see that it's undisplaced also. Very small displacements you can see, and then here it's a wedge fracture. The piece of the or a segment is separated. You can see the wedge. So it's a bi-split. And then A3 is little complex, but the articular surface is spared, but it is little complex fracture. Okay, so this is for extra articular. And then here the partial one, the partial articular surface, it's a pure split. Actually, split means that vertical, vertical, how to say, the fracture is in the vertical aspect. Okay, so this is the pure split and no displacements. And other than that, but the positions and all, everything is more or less stable. But the B2 is you have split fracture, along with that some depression. Depression means one is goes deeper. That is this aspect is little bit goes deeper. This is called split depression. Okay, it moves more proximally. One segment moves more proximally. And then we have B3. This is multi-fragmentary depression. So normal alignment is this one, means it goes like here you can see that everything is changed. Everything goes deeper, or some changes in the alignment. Okay. Next one is this complex fractures. Articular, this one simple that is extend till metaphases. Okay. That is 43C1. Okay. And then this is also simple but multi-fragmentary. Articular simple multi-fragmentary. And the third one is articular multiple complex. It's like a type of combinated one. Okay, so this is AVO OTA classification, and then we have so mechanism of injuries. So mainly the cause for injury is both high energy forces or low energy forces. Okay, so low energy forces means like tripping or twisting your ankle, or maybe irregular surface your without your how to say unknowingly you may have slipped into any holes or any unleveled surface, right? That is called low energy force fractures, and it is very stable one compared to high impact. This is so next thing is high impacted one, such as motor vehicle injuries. Now we coming to the clinical assessment. So the deformities, look for the deformities, and then the main thing is when we need to take X-ray, whether it is due to simple ankle sprain or it is because of fracture. It is very important. Mostly, this is very crucial because the management also varies. Whether it is a fracture, we need to go for a different thing called. So how we can find out means check for the tenderness around the medial and lateral malleoli. We have Watava's fracture rule. The criteria is there whether you need to take X-ray or not. So this is one of the two important things are medial tenderness around medial malleoli and tenderness around lateral malleoli. These two things are very important. If it is so, you need to take X-ray. And then inability to bear weight. Okay, that is also other thing that we have to take X-ray. Okay, so just a second, I'll show you this. Sorry. Okay, so here can you see this picture? So in this thing, bone tenderness at A, that is the posterior or tip of the lateral malleolus. Okay, this is like up to 6 centimeter. You can check. Okay, these are all the points where you feel tenderness. So be alert for this. And then in this bone tenderness at B, that is the posterior edge or tip of lateral malleolus up to 6 centimeter. Okay, so this is A and B, and inability to bear weight both immediately and also in emergency department. These three signs are there, or any two. Okay, so any of this one, any of this one finding, is there, you strictly need to take X-ray. For like same way for mid-foot fractures also, the foot zone also, you need to have like if there is any pain in the navicular bone, that is in the medial aspect very prominent. Apart from medial malleolus, if you go little bit inferior and anterior, you have some prominence. So if it is the pain around or tenderness around this navicular bone, then you surely need to take X-ray. And then the base of the in the lateral aspect also, you have that very prominent bone, that is fifth metatarsal. So if you have pain there, or inability to bear weight both immediately and also in emergency department. Okay, so this is the rule for taking X-rays. Okay. So other than that, you can check for note obvious deformities. Is there the hood is placed in different way? That is very important, and along with that we have some rules also that we have seen now, and then the palpation of ligaments You can check the ligament, and you can ask about the feel of the joint, whether they feel loose or some kind of they can feel that. Okay, so unstable joints you can easily feel. It looks like it is wavery, or it is somewhat how to say, it is flabby, the flabby kind of feel they have. So that thing also you can ask about. And so that's it for the clinical assessment. And the radiographic findings, so important thing is x-ray findings, very very important. That I already told you, this syndesmosis, this tibia and fibula, right? This gap, if you have, there is some specific criteria is there. So if you have that kind of widening of the space, then it's very important. And then you can have the like weight bearing. So sometimes normally the foot is maybe by force of muscles, they may align in the, like there is no gap. But whenever you weight bear, just take x-rays in weight bearing. Okay, so mild weight bearing is allowed. And then if you take x-ray, that will be give you exact the thing, that is the widening would be there whenever we do weight bearing. Sometimes that is the reason you may ignore that there is no fracture, but the widening of this tibia and fibula is very crucial. And then you can see the lateral anteroposterior and lateral view of knee. And we have AP lateral and oblique view of foot also can be taken. Okay, so then we have in the anteroposterior x-rays, right? So this is in the anteroposterior ankle radiograph. You have this tibiofibular overlap and tibiofibular clear space. I'll tell you that. So less than 10 mm, is always abnormal. And if it is tibiofibular clear space is greater than 5 mm is also abnormal. Okay, so and then we have this 3 things you need to check. Okay, overlap and clear space and talar tilt. Okay, so maybe what I can do is okay. Yes, this one. Okay, this is tibiofibular overlap. Okay, so in between the arrows, you can see in the picture A, you can see that some aspect of the tibia is overlapped. This is normal. Okay, normal overlap is that is off of your fibula is shared by tibia. Is it clear? You can see that. So your few the maybe I'm not sure about the inches, but this half of your fibula should be shared with tibia. This is actually the correct alignment. Okay, so if it is greater than that is you can feel abnormal x-rays. Okay, I told you, right? This one. This is the so normal this relationship is very important whenever we take X-ray. Here you can see that it is widened. See, so the gap is created. Always part of your tibia should be shared with fibula, right? Here it is widened and it creates a gap also. Okay, so this is called overlap. So how we can measure it is the overlap is greater than as well as tibiofibular greater than 6 mm. If it is going greater than 6 mm or if it is greater than 42% of the width of the fibula, sorry, less than 6 mm, sorry, less than 6 mm and then less than 42% of the width of the fibula, then we need to have this something is abnormal. You need to take care of that. Is it clear? What I'm saying is, so it should be half of the, just remember that half of the fibula is shared in the X-ray by your tibia. If it is not, or if it is widened, we have some issues, serious issues are there in the ankle joint. That is one point. And one more thing, everything, all the measurements should be taken 1 centimeter above the joint line. Okay, that is the correct measurement. That is 1 centimeter in this area. In this area, it should be overlapped. Okay. And next thing is that open space include tibiofibular clear space. The clear space is that it is posteriorly it is overlaps. Anteriorly it should be that anterior aspect is called clear space. So that clear space is 6 mm. It should be 6 mm. Okay. So here you can have the tibiofibular overlap should be at least 6 mm. Okay, that is very important. And then the medial clear space. Here you have the medial clear spaces, this gap. Okay, another thing is there, medial clear space. So if you have here, you can see that there is a widening of this space also. Okay, so the medial clear space means this aspect. If it is wider, then there is a greater chance for syndesmosis. Why I am telling you means because the X-ray findings play a major role. So medial clear space, you have like this one, and then tibiofibular overlap is less than 2.1, and these are all various criteria you have for finding out. So here now we come to okay, this if it is away from this findings, that is if it is wider or this medial clear space also, if it's less than 4 mm, it's correct, otherwise it's abnormal. Okay, tal or tilt also, everything is it should obey this angles or this centimeters and mm. Okay. if it is the clear space is greater means there is a problem, and overlap is also lesser the overlap means there is also the problem is there. So overall, here you can have this tibiofibular overlap is greater than 10 mm is abnormal, and tibiofibular clear space is greater than 5 mm. It's abnormal. Okay, so once again, less than 10 mm. Less than 10 mm is abnormal, and it implies syndesmosis injury. So in the different type of view of radiograph, that is Mortis view, that is taking from inferior aspect. In that thing also you have some findings called the foot is internally rotated, and you need to take